with that.
Thanks.
Okay, we are live.
All right, we have a quorum and we're going to begin the meeting on September 8th of the Old Town Laverne Business Improvement District Board of Directors. Do you need a roll call of who's here?
Sure.
Craig Walters,
Chris Gendro.
Marianne Stark.
Matt
Vicky,
Forgy.
and Larry Perkle is on the, I should have introduced him first, is on the line here representing University of Laverne. Jason Miller is unable to make it today.
okay,
Hello.
good morning.
Good morning.
All right, and we have a couple of representatives from the police department. Chief, you want to introduce who else you have there?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a good weekend, despite the smoke and all that.
Yeah,
So I've got Captain Colleen Flores on the video here, and our Holly Savage also.
all right. Great, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We don't have any minutes for this meeting. So let's begin with item 4A, Police Department Business Watch Program.
So I'd just like to introduce Holly again. We did this a couple weeks ago, but we're gonna go over this again. This is the Business Watch program that was recently rolled out, which she's gonna speak about, and I'll hand it over to you, Holly.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us. Like Chief said, we rolled out our Business Watch program a couple weeks ago. Business Watch program is basically a partnership between the police department and our merchants in our community. It's not an actual entity where you join it. It's just kind of everybody working together. We've got over 1,300 businesses in the city, and with 4 to 5 police officers working at a time, we need eyes and ears that can help us. A lot of people don't want to contact us. They may think that it's not a crime that they're seeing, but they need to call us. So that's one of the things that we ask the merchants is to contact us if there's something suspicious or something that just doesn't sit right with you. Ideally, you're not only looking out for your own businesses, but for your fellow merchants as well. I have a flyer that is on our website. It's a trifold and it gives a lot of detail about the program and why it's beneficial to everybody. And then with Business Watch, if you contact us, we can come out to your business and kind of identify if there are areas of weakness, like if you have maybe poor lighting in a parking area where your employees might be walking out at all hours of the night, that may be an issue. Also, if you have cameras, that's something that we need to be able to see if you or your employees would be able to access that information if a crime does occur. We also have an increase in our homeless population, and with the Gold Line coming in, we know that that is going to increase as well. We do have our homeless outreach team that works with us as the Business Watch, and a lot of the homeless people, we can connect them with the services that they need. Did somebody have a question? I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
Sorry, I thought I heard somebody else. So yeah, that's pretty much Business Watch. It's just a partnership. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. Sorry.
I have a question. So
Yes, ma'am.
how can we help you get the word out about this program? I mean, the businesses are scattered all over the place. So is there something that we can help with?
Yeah, that word of mouth is wonderful. I'm the contact here at the police department, so if anybody's interested in participating, we can certainly reach out, send them a flyer, and like I said, we can go out to the businesses and talk to them and explain to them why it's so valuable.
Is it something that, like, if we put it on our like our Facebook pages to let you know about it? I mean, for example, our business pages and the Old Town page to let them know to contact you?
Absolutely. What I'll do is I'll share our graphic and then I can tag. Do you guys have a page?
We do.
Perfect. Then I can just tag you in it and then you can share it. That'd be
Okay.
great.
And
Thank you.
Holly, you have an electronic version of that we can, we have an email list of all the Old Town business.
I do. I can send that to you. It's on our website, but I can also email it to you if you want to give me your email address.
Yeah, CH Walters
Mhm.
at cpp.edu.
Perfect. I'll get that sent over to you. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions on the Business Watch program? No. Well, you know, any support we get obviously is great. I know the businesses appreciate the connection with the department, and so far, you know, the support from the department for everything with street closure and other issues has been great, Chief. So please pass that on to your folks.
Well, we do appreciate the chance to, you know, put this out in the community, and we're gonna have to leave the meeting. We've got some, Holly actually left the meeting that she was in, and I've got a meeting right now as well. So we'll see you guys later, and thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks,
Right.
everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
So we're going to bump back up to the calendar, item 2. I assume, Eric, that we're still kind of in a holding pattern for the card.
Yes, we've identified the date in November. I've got that down here to discuss later. Hey, Chris, I think we're getting backfeed on your phone line because you're on 2 different devices. I'm going to mute you, okay?
Okay.
Just unmute yourself if you need to talk. Thanks. So I've got this on for discussion in a little bit, but I just wanted, before we get into the real meeting, I wanted to make sure the board members all received the 2 public comment emails that were sent in by Jackson Salinas. So I just want to make sure you had that.
Yeah.
Comments on
Saw those.
calendar. So,
Received them.
just recognizing that. So, and otherwise, the Halloween coloring contest is on here under calendars. We're doing it sort of the same and sort of different. There's a submittal time period for the kids to submit their coloring applications, basically between September 10th and October 8th. They could do that online, or they could drop it off here at City Hall when we are open. That's Mondays and Wednesdays, 8:30 to 1, and Tuesdays and Thursdays from noon till 5. But they will be displayed in the businesses' windows in Old Town like they have in past years. So that part stays the same. It's just the way that they submit it this year. We have an online portal for that. It's available on the city's website. So I know that Mickey, I think that Yvonne from the Community Services Department gave you that information as well.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely will.
Great, okay. We can go on to continued business item A, D Street closure.
Yeah, just your monthly recap or review, I guess, of the current situation with D Street. Obviously, I think since the last meeting we had is when there was an online petition circulating for permanent closure. I had made mention to the board members that the city doesn't have any intention to permanently close D Street. Obviously, as long as it's a benefit to the restaurants in Old Town, that the city, as long as the improvement district is still supportive of this, that we would keep it in place as restrictions remain on the restaurants.
What's an update on how it's going? Obviously, the heat knocked it out this weekend, but it seems like it continues to grow, and certainly a lot of participation.
I agree. I haven't heard anybody saying that they think it's slowing down. Obviously, this weekend, but meetings I know Thursday night it was pretty crowded down there actually.
Leah, are you getting any feedback?
Yeah, it's keeping the businesses alive right now. I just spoke to Cafe Wong on Thursday, and it's made a huge difference for them.
Okay. Matt, how's it affecting you guys? Any?
Yeah, it's okay. I just we've noticed a lot more traffic on 3rd Street, and a lot more like speeding traffic. I mean, cars going by ridiculously fast, motorcycles too. So we're a little concerned with that, and we see a lot more skateboarders on the sidewalks and people just loitering, smoking. It seems to be drawing people. I'm worried that we need to keep up in terms of keeping it a safe environment. We can't always see people on the sidewalk because it's busy.
I think that's a really good point, and I was going to mention that as well. But I was down there one evening last week. And I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but there were a lot of skateboarders and bicycles on the sidewalks, and the sidewalks feel really crowded now with the extra tables out there. It's not safe environment at all. And I think all those sidewalks, aren't they posted no skateboards, Eric?
I'm not sure.
I think at one point they were, and Monero Square was, an attraction point as well for that. But, the night I went down, the university parking lot was, I'd say 85% full. It was, it was just amazing how many people were down there. No concerns at this point from the university to continue use of that parking?
No, we're fine with it. Glad we could help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mickey, any comments on your side?
I kind of agree with Matt, a lot of what he said.
Well, I can mention to our police department about these concerns, listen for extra, looking for these things in that area, basically. Obviously, the speeding is probably the most important part, but I'll make mention of these concerns to the police department to see if we can have some better enforcement down there.
Yeah, and Craig mentioned signage. I think that it's something. I don't know if we have any no skateboard, no smoking signs, but that might help.
Good.
How's the trash situation, Mickey?
You know what? It seems to be much better.
So businesses are taking it on their own over the weekend to empty trash?
I believe so. I wasn't walking this weekend because it was too hot and smoky. So I didn't go by early in the morning to see. But I think the last weekend I did, and it seemed okay. I mean, it was a lot of trash, but it wasn't overflowing onto the ground.
Okay. Well, Eric, do you want to address, there is a petition that was put up and there have been comments. Has anybody approached the city council yet about extending this permanently?
I have not. Not regarding the petition. Obviously, one of the public comments was regarding making this permanently every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But we've spoken before about the logistics of that, and obviously moving barricades and trees in and out. Even permanently on a weekend-only basis still isn't something that the city believes is feasible to do because of the manpower involved in setup and takedown basically every week.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll continue to monitor that. Let's drop down to the car show. You wanted to talk a little bit more about that.
So when we spoke with Craig Hosanna, the car shows, we looked at just acknowledging that the next car show most likely would be where we have the Verne show in November. In the last 2 years, or maybe just last year, we moved to the Saturday before Thanksgiving versus the Saturday after. Everybody felt that was acceptable. It didn't really impact. It opened the downtown for Small Business Saturday. I think Mickey had reported didn't really see a big uptick because there was no car show available. The weather was cooler. We had a good turnout for the car show, so the discussion was, do we continue with the Saturday before Thanksgiving in hopes that the county order is lifted where events such as this could occur then.
Comments?
So The idea I remember being was that we would try to get the Christmas tree set up for the car show. And we kind of rushed last year, Mickey. We got that gal to do that, and we kind of helped support it. Do we want to line that person up now early for that weekend to try to see if we can get it by the 21st and then see if we can get the tree in time as well?
I want to say it's the 21st. I'm sorry, I'm on the phone because I'm setting up, so I'm not near a calendar or anything. I'm putting all my stuff in my cases. Is that the weekend before Thanksgiving or the weekend after?
Before. The
Before
21st is before. Thanksgiving's the 26th.
Yeah, so the trees won't be here. That gentleman we buy the trees from, he gets them on Thanksgiving weekend, that Thursday or Friday. I think that Friday.
Right.
Well,
So
can
that,
we look into another tree vendor that can get it to us early? Should we think about that, or just not worry about it and still plan on? Because you want it up for Small Business Saturday. So the ideal day would be Friday the 27th.
right.
That's the Friday after Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
Right.
So Chris, can't you just grab one up there out your back door and
I'm
bring it down to us?
staring at one right now, Craig, that I think I could probably haul down. It's about a 30-footer.
Okay.
We could get it out to you. And it's mine. I own it. So I could get you a good deal on it.
No, we'll give it back to you when we're done.
I
Well,
think there's tree companies up here that will get a tree early if you want it. But I don't know. If we don't need it set up for the car show, then proceed with having it delivered on the 27th, and then Mickey, line up your gal for the decoration that day on the afternoon of the 27th.
Yeah, I can sure see. I don't know that she's going to do it again, but I will work on getting somebody.
If you remember that you did set aside money this year in your budget for that and to pay somebody to do that. So you allocated more money in this year's budget for this.
yeah. Well, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I pretty much stopped trying to guess when things are going to be open again. And we certainly hope that weekend would be good for the car show, the 21st, but a little over 2 months away, hopefully, but we don't know. But at the very least, we can certainly continue with the downtown decoration scheme, and even if we can't have the ceremony down at the tree, it can certainly look festive. And if the restaurants are still outside, I think we're going to have a lot of people no matter what. So I guess we just move forward and hope for the best. Does anybody think we should try to get a tree a week early?
It would be nice because it's good. Everything's late. It would be nice to have it up early. I think people would like it if it's possible.
Yeah. Is anybody interested in doing some research or seeing if you could find a vendor? I don't think it would pencil out to have one specially hauled down for us, but if there's somebody that's getting them in early.
Mickey,
Who
where do
ordered
we
that
get?
tree?
It's
We get it from
Farm.
Strawberry Farms.
Oh,
Okay.
This could be just me, but I don't really like putting up Christmas stuff before Thanksgiving. Just a personal note.
So if we put it up the day after Thanksgiving, be there to help decorate, right, Matt?
Sure.
Okay. Well,
I normally don't like to do that either, Matt, but I hate to compare us to a big box store because we are not that, but I have a customer that sells decorations and makes decorations for all the big box stores. And this year particularly, everybody wants to get set up early. Now, what their early is and what our early is would probably be different just because of the situation that we're going through. So I think in light of that, you know, if we can get it by the car show, that would be great. Otherwise, the day after Thanksgiving is good too.
So is anybody interested in trying to do some looking around? See if there's any options?
Is it, Mickey, is it possible to see if the guy at Strawberry Farms is going to bring in his trees early this year? Just because of the timing?
I can ask him, but we asked him that last year. I believe we did not have the tree up for the car show last year because of that very reason. They don't get them in until that, you know, maybe they get them in on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but they get them in right, you know, that weekend, basically. We've always gotten it that Friday after Thanksgiving. I can ask him. I guess, you know, yeah, I can call him and ask him.
What's the price we pay for that tree normally?
God, I want to say it's around $1,000.
Are you sure?
I don't remember.
We were paying $350 for a number of years.
Eric, can you find out how much for that tree?
I want to say it was around $600, but we can definitely go back.
Yeah,
600 that
it was
last
definitely
year.
more than $300 or $400. I know that. But they, you know, they're super nice and they do give us, I think, a good price. Like if you were to walk in there and get that tree, it would be very expensive. But for some reason, I was thinking it was $1,000, but maybe it was. I probably have a copy of the receipt in my folder, so I can look it up. Pardon me?
We can look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, but that
Mickey, that I helped decorate, get the power of the tree with the Paddocks and Marianne's team that year, and I think the gal was a little annoyed because we basically were there to help with the lights, and then she did the decorating. But if we give her carte blanche and all the stuff is delivered by the city, if you call her now in September and lock her in on a date, once you figure out the tree situation, do you think she might be game to come back and do it? Because I like the way she decorated the tree, and she uses lots of those bulbs at the city that we provided. So do you think it would be worth a phone call to her?
Yeah, I'll definitely call her. I just know that one of the problems is last year, remember, it was raining and misting, and when she got there, it wasn't raining, but the tree is so tall that, you know, she didn't feel, she decorates people's trees in homes. So she was like a little nervous about it being kind of wet and that the tree was so big. So, you know, I have become friendly with her since then. So I'll definitely ask her if she's interested, and I'll text her, you know, today. But the problem is she does not want to put the lights on. Yeah. So, and then we found a couple people, and at the last minute they, you know, again, because it was raining, it was a weird year last year because of the rain, and people didn't want to get involved with the tree in the rain. So, but there are some people that would come in and put in lights and possibly decorate too, that are Laverne people. But again, I think maybe we should ask Joanne if she's interested in doing it. She is a downtown merchant, so we should give her first bid. But I know it's kind of hard to nail her down sometimes, but I will text her as well if the group agrees with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
You know, based on what Mickey was saying about a lot of businesses maybe decorating early this year, there's got to be trees. So it's just a matter of, if we want it on the 21st, finding the source, because the businesses are going to have them early for the bigger ones. We should be able to find something if we really want it. But we don't know.
Well, I think a lot of indoor stores use fake trees too. So.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that? And car show is just going to have to hold. We have no indication, Eric, do we, of timeline for opening up for events?
If you look at the state's guidelines that were released 2 weeks ago, you know, those fall pretty far down the list. Yeah. So I'm hopeful, but I think I'm more aligned with you, Craig, in that I think the chances of us being able to have a large event outside even before Thanksgiving is
And if the malls continue to be closed inside, I think it presents some good opportunities for independent small businesses, and certainly, promoting that aspect of get outside and walk around, do your shopping. Okay, so let's move on. City report, Eric. I'm sorry, nothing?
I have nothing.
Okay. University?
Yes, thank you. We have started our online classes, and we're totally online as of now. If that changes through the advice from the governor's office, and later in the semester, we will transition over. We are students. There are 150 students that are living in Vista Laverne. They are spread out through the actual dorm for social distancing. And they, as well as anybody, staff as well, when we go on campus, we have to be wearing masks as well. There are some essential employees that are back on campus. I don't know what that number is. We were talking about 250, but we're trying to get that number reduced way back. We did testing on everybody who was on campus on the 28th, and the good news is everybody came back negative. We will continue a surveillance testing until this ends. Basically, every week a group will be tested from the pool that have already been tested, and it's going to amount probably in about a month or a month and a half. Everybody will be tested as we work through that cycle to keep sure that we're on everything on that. Let's see. We are currently looking at updating all of our HVA systems for when we actually return to campus. We're putting in filters, special filters in there, ultraviolet filters as well. We have retrofit the rest of the campus in anticipation of when we go back, whenever that may be, where we're limiting class sizes. We're putting up plexiglass screens everywhere that is applicable, and we're putting hand washing stations as well. As far as projects, you're going to see some activity down at our Veterans Center. We are currently going to remove the sidewalk that's about this wide and put a wide sidewalk, a new patio, and a patio cover out there as well on the side of the house. And then we're putting on a small addition in the back to increase the size of the, actually it's to add a restroom into the actual facility there. Also, we're going to be taking down the buildings of the Brown property that have been causing nuisance for the last 7 years that I know of. Hopefully, we're going to start that on September 28th, and we'll be done the first or the second week of November. That's just taking them down to the slab as we're doing our remediation from the soil conditions below, and we can't touch that until those are finished.
That's the building. That's the building on 2nd Street.
On Arrow Highway.
Oh, Arrow.
Yeah, Brown property is out on Arrow Highway, and then the Veterans Center is actually on 3rd Street.
Got it.
And that's it for me.
So the students that are in the dorm, what's the situation with them? Why were they allowed?
There was situations where it was international students who were stuck here. Anybody that had conditions at home where they weren't conducive and didn't have any way to study or anything, they were allowed to come back in. It's all basically hardship situations.
Okay.
And they are serving some meals from our the dining hall as well, but they're more the grab and go type style.
All right. Well, and thanks again for the cooperation on the parking. That's really been tremendous assistance for that. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Marketing, do you want to talk about anything right now, Mickey?
Well, I will say that we have a new business hopefully coming in. Paperwork has been signed for Heritage Baking to go into the old Serendipity building. So that's exciting that we're going to be having a business there. So Like, I guess that's all about, I know we're meeting about marketing after this.
Yep. Okay. Chamber, Leah?
Just to save the date, Tuesday, October 20th, beginning at 6 p.m., the Chambers, San Dimas and Laverne will be hosting a Bonita Unified School District Candidates Forum. It'll be totally virtual, both the candidates and the audience. And thanks again to ULV, the Dean of the College of the La Fitra College Education, Kimberly White-Smith will be our moderator.
All right. Any other general reports or comments?
I did email Eric, and I had called the city. George Henderson was in the other day, and we were kind of chatting. And we were thinking about parking, and you know how our employees take up so much of our parking. So George's idea was, the city sells permits every year for people to park close to their business. What if we use the parking lot on the corner of 3rd and D, and all the employees park there? I did reach out to Jason, and he said, basically come up with something first before he takes it somewhere else. So I'm just kind of wondering what everybody's thoughts are on that. Because even when we go back to normal situation, the parking is obviously a problem. So that would alleviate, that would give more parking to our customers closer to our businesses.
I can give you an update on that. I'm actually working on and trying to establish what our parking balance is to make sure that it doesn't work to the detriment to what we have as far as our ratio. So I found that information, and I'm going to be working with Maya to see if we're within where we need to, and we can offer up that extra a number of stalls there. So I'll
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, I'm on the phone. Was that you, Jason?
No, I'm Larry Perkle. I'm sitting in for Jason today.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, do you have any idea how many of those permits have been issued?
Oh, it's done through the police department, so I don't really get that report anymore. I think they give out, I think it's probably around 50, but I honestly don't know. But I guess my perspective of that, and Mickey, I didn't get your email, so sometimes your email goes to my junk, so I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
I
was wondering why you didn't respond to me.
We've been encouraging our restaurants or our businesses in Old Town to have their employees park in that lot today. And obviously, they don't need the permit, they don't need to pay for the space, and they can park there without any time limitations. So even if a business doesn't pay for those permits today, they should be instructing their employees to park in the university's lot. Right. To free up those spaces now with the street closed. And until the university's back in session, I would assume, Larry, there wouldn't be a problem of us continuing to use that lot for public purpose. But once the university goes back to session, then that's when that's going to end.
Right, exactly.
And I think
right. Well, and we knew that, but Jason said it might be possible to, give us a few parking spots so that people would basically, if you have a permit, you would have to park there. And again, free up. I mean, I have business owners that park in front of my store all day long. Well, when we had parking. And so, it is a problem. And I don't know that anybody's using that parking lot now, even though it's free and they can.
I just don't.
But Nate, okay, so the lot behind us here, the section over by San Bonita, but it's closer to C Street. Nobody's parking over there.
Behind
so
the fire station.
Yeah. So you've got ULV's got their strip there, and there's a strip for, I think it's the police and fire department. But the one actually up on Bonita right now, nobody's parking over there. Now, I don't send my staff over there, but if we were to designate that section for permitted parking by the city only, that would free up all the parking that's actually behind all the restaurants. Because what's happening is, I hate to say it, people are getting lazy. They don't want to walk that far. But that whole
Yeah,
section
no.
over there is wide open. And it's 90-minute parking, but nobody's parking there. So we could move a lot of the employees there, use those spots for that part type, and that would free up, because actually the people that used to park there were the ULB students. They used to take those spots out.
And that's
So-
where,
And really what George and I were thinking, this is not just for while, COVID is going on. This is when everything opens back up and, the streets are open and everything, because even like George's parking lot, if you will, behind Cafe Wong and all of that, I mean, it's full in the morning with all employees. So I think that we should think about our customers more. And, we had the same problem at Nordstrom's. We were supposed to park, in a certain area, and people were so lazy that they would cheat all the time. But if you have permitted parking, then people, maybe I think would feel more apt, like, oh, I have to park here because I have a permit.
Right.
So this is kind of long-term, not even short-term, it's long-term. And I know George said they sell their permits like at the beginning of the year. So it would be something that we, could kind of start working on now to kind of prepare everybody if it's something that.
Well, I think you've got businesses up here on Bonita, and like during tax time, I'm not going to want to walk all the way down there to get out at 9 o'clock at night. So I park up here, but I don't mind parking on
Right.
Bonita. If they
Right.
designate,
So maybe we have two little sections, you know what I mean? That would make it fair basically for everybody.
yeah, because we've got State Farm parks over here. I park here. Paddock's park here. We all have permits, but I don't think any of them would be upset if we had to park on Bonita. Right? I mean,
Right.
the facing right there.
Right.
At least we're in a safe zone when we walk and it's lit and the police department's right here. So that wouldn't be that bad. And that would free up all these spots that are closer to the restaurants.
Right.
Eric, it's been a few years since we dealt with this. Does the permit allow them to park anywhere that has a time limitation?
Mm-hmm.
not everywhere except for the 90-minute on street. So like in the core on D Street, they're not allowed to park there, but it exempts them in that Bonita lot that Mary Ann's been talking about, where it's
Yeah.
public 90-minute. That's where they're supposed to be parking with their permit. Same with behind Cafe Wong. Those two 90-minute lots were identified to free up the on-street parking. Obviously with D Street closed, that's why I think we're seeing a little bit, especially on the east side of it being more crowded. But that's where, this, Mickey, before you moved to downtown, so this was probably 8 years ago, Craig, maybe.
Yeah.
City, we hired a consultant, a parking consultant, to actually evaluate our downtown parking situation, on street, off street, and the merchant parking permit program. And they didn't recommend any modifications. So we do have really two primary lots off street that are kind of back behind the buildings, where the people that pay for the permits are expected to be parking. So
I think it's worth,
Go ahead, Craig.
just to piggyback on what Marianne was saying, I think it's worth looking into, see if we want to modify that, because that lot across from 3rd Street Wine is full all the time, at least all the times I go there, and that's a key lot for people, customers to park in. I would think that probably the most effective thing we could do right now, if we could get the police department, since they have the list and they have the authority, to send out a little reminder to all the permit holders saying, these are the lots you're allowed to park in. If you're not in those lots, you're subject to citation per the posted time limit.
The problem, Mickey's
But no, there's no parking meter anymore.
Yeah, but see, like, for example, I park right next to State Farm. You know that right there, that coming in? That's permitted for us to park there with that permit. But that's the kind of spots that Mickey's talking about, the customers to the restaurants want. They're close.
Right.
So But at the same time, you've got a double-edged sword because we're paying to park back here. So there's times we come in, all those 90-minute spots are gone and we have no place to park. So we come down early and take the first spots out. If we had a designated area for the permits that are purchased for the people that work down here, then we wouldn't have to worry about it. Because the other problem we run into, which hasn't been too bad right now because of COVID, but when the fire and police departments are training, they take out this whole lot, the whole lot with all the people that are stations, leaving even us who have permits and pay to park back here, we can't even get in. So there's an edge there where if we had a designated area, like I said, if it's over at the far end of the lot, that's fine.
Yeah.
At least we'd know we'd have a place to park because we're paying to park.
Do you have any thoughts, Eric, on how we might look into this further?
I think this definitely needs more discussion. There are different things that the city was already looking at anyways in these areas. And so I don't know if that's the answer to have designated spaces just for merchants. Because it's harder to tell, you know, we might issue 50 permits, let's say, but we might only really need 25 spaces because of the different shifts and when they're being used and what day of the week. And but then how that changes, right, to where maybe 1 week it's 30, and then if we have a designated space and then a situation where they're all are taken, because we wouldn't want to reserve 50 spaces for 50 permits, because then we're gonna have a lot of empty spaces that aren't accessible to the public. So trying to figure out how that works logistically is pretty tough. That's why having them blend in with 90 minutes, it was what we had determined. I think a potential solution for the east parking lot behind Cafe Wong and Roberta's is to potentially make some of those, you know, a different time or one row only would be available for the merchant holders, and then the rest, half of it wouldn't be, to make sure that we have public spaces back there and it's not just filled with merchant employees. That might be a solution. But like I said, I think this definitely deserves more time and further discussion. And so I'd say we table it and have it on for next month, and I'll try to bring some more information back to you then.
Well, and maybe ULV will have some more information for us too. You know,
Yeah,
if we
should be
could
able
use
to.
that parking lot and another parking lot.
Yeah, and there hasn't been opposition to it. It's just, we just want to make sure that the count that the city has held us to as far as a ratio, that we aren't giving away parking spots that we need to fulfill our count that will be used. But certainly if we're extra and it's looking like they are, then we have no problem supporting that.
Sure. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
So I had a question about this email that came across, Eric, Jackson Salinas. Are we as a board required to respond to him on his request for?
Yeah, so I presented the emails, public comment. We don't read emails through public comment. So the board's received them. It's up to each of you. If you want to bring it up for discussion on any of the items, you're definitely more than welcome to do so as a board member.
Is it the idea that we don't respond to them directly because it's just a public comment like council, or should this board take more action and say, we at least respond back to them, say, you were presented to the board and there was no comment about your suggestions, or you just leave it blank, Eric? What's the best way to handle it?
So there's two different parts of public comment. Okay? There's public comments on things that are on the agenda, and then there's the public comment that we have listed on 6 on the agenda, which is at the end, which is for public comments on things that are not on the agenda. The board cannot address those items that are not on the agenda. Anything that was submitted that is about the agenda can be discussed on this meeting during this meeting. The minutes, this video is obviously being preserved on the city's website. We'll have the action minutes that'll follow the following meeting that'll talk about the fact that we do public comment, and the emails themselves are attached to the minutes so that they're the way they're preserved and available to the public at that time. So there is no direct response.
Eric, my understanding has always been that as long as there was no action taken, that an individual making a comment was not a violation of the Brown Act. Is that not the case anymore?
The board, so the association, the board should not be engaging on the discussion on public comment that's not on an agenda item. You can direct staff to prepare a response or to try to respond if I'm able to, or to ask that this be put on a future agenda where the board can have a full discussion about it.
Well, let me try this then. I think some of the items that gentlemen submitted have already been addressed relative to the car show date, and at least we've already discussed those items. The one that has come up twice now regarding public potential candidates for public office appearing. Eric, could you respond what the city's policy is on inviting individuals?
I'm not sure that we have one, so I can't. I'm sorry.
We'll make one up. Well, then in that case, I guess the only remedy would be if this individual wants to pursue this, you would need to request to be placed on the agenda.
Correct.
Okay, so let's see.
And then can we ask one last thing about the closure downtown? Is the discussion ended and over with permanently closing downtown? Or is it a tabled item that we're going to wait and see what happens with COVID before we decide the future of closing downtown?
All I've responded at this point is from city staff's perspective. We do not have any interest in bringing to the council a plan to permanently close it at this time. Yes, that could always change if the world changed even crazier than it is now. Or if the city council wished to bring it up and place it on one of their agendas for their discussion, they could do so. Because ultimately the city council would have to make that decision to permanently close it. And so until which time the council staff felt that it was appropriate to put on an agenda or a council member requested that it be put on a council agenda, that's what it would really take for that discussion to occur. So, I mean, I think that the council would obviously look at this board for your recommendation on that. So, that's why I think that the continuing to talk about this every month is important. And so while it'll still be on each agenda every month, if the board wants to take a position to recommend that to the city council, you may do so. But at this point, I'm just indicating that from staff's perspective, that we do not believe that that's a solution.
Right.
The reason I bring it up is there's an underlying conversation in communities in America right now. I'm having one up here, we're in Washington, about weather. You have winter coming. You have businesses that are now thriving on the streets because they're allowed to eat outdoors. And now you have to plan for winter coming. Their businesses are going to shutter or not be able to serve inside permanently, like we potentially could see through the winter, especially with the governor's words as late as last week. This could go into the spring. I think planning for the idea of some type of permanent cover for restaurants to serve outside and heaters and rain cover is appropriate. Because if you don't do it now and start thinking about closing it for those purposes now, you're going to be left hanging out with no business activity downtown for any of those restaurants if they aren't allowed to create some sort of heat and cover for the rain. And that's why I think it's an important conversation. It happened a week ago in Chase's. A gentleman brought this up. What are we going to do when it rains? Well, we're starting to think about covers on the patio because we're having to address the idea that the COVID dine-in situation is not going to come back until maybe next summer. And that's a real concern. And I think it's important that the board think about these things.
Well, wouldn't that be up to each restaurant?
Well, it would be an investment that the restaurant would have to make if the street's going to close permanently. And it would be something that they would want to be in partnership with the city on, helping develop a plan to do that. But if it's up in the air, how is the restaurant to operate and think about the future if we don't know if it's going to, you know, if on the basis right now it's not permanent, at what point you know it's going to open? Cars are going to travel down D Street. We don't know this. So the thought.
Well, I would hope that the street opens because there's, you know, one thing that I'm seeing is we have a large elderly population and it's hard for them. And many times I have to go find them in their car and give them their repair or whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider with this street closure. And one thing, big thing is parking. You know, when the college comes back, there will be absolutely no parking. So I hear what you're saying, but you know, numbers are going down too. My daughter is a nurse at Pomona Valley. And we went on vacation 2 weeks ago and there was 92 patients. We came back a week later, there was under 40. So numbers are definitely coming down. It's just, you know, our governor likes to scare everybody. Sorry, no politics.
Nikki, you believe that we will be dine in or allowed to have kids in classes this year. Do you believe that?
Oh, no, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that I'm not for permanently closing down the street.
Right.
I'm not either. But how is Village Grill to operate in the rainy winter?
Let me jump in real quick. Everything that's been done has been done with the idea that this was a temporary solution. The temporary seems to be by default becoming more permanent, but I don't see how there's any way to do anything substantial for those businesses in the next couple of months. Eric, you might want to talk about if the city has any concerns about allowing more elaborate tenting with sides and heaters and stuff on the street. I would assume
those are not allowed. Yeah, they won't be allowed. So I think they would
say
not,
that again.
They would not be allowed from the fire department.
Yeah. So, you know, we're going to have to just play this along, I think. And, you know, the discussion of whether the street is going to be closed permanently is not something that should be decided while we're in this current situation. You know, we need to get some sense of normal before that's talked about. But I want to say one last thing. Just the fact that so many restaurants now have tables on the sidewalks, even without the street, let's say it gets back to normal, you can dine inside. The street atmosphere has changed tremendously. And I think that can continue and that can be a huge plus to Old Town. It's pretty cool, you know, to see the number of people that are down there now.
If you recall, before COVID, we had already established a sidewalk policy that allowed restaurants to put tables out beside the lots. Up to a certain amount for free. They extended beyond, I think it was 2 tables, then they had to pay a rental fee, basically like some of the other businesses that lease city property for after. We had done that in advance of COVID, actually. So we've been kind of using that to implement what's going on downtown with no fees associated to anybody. But when it does go back to normal, there still will be that opportunity for a lot of that to remain.
You're right, Chris. It's going to be a big issue in about 3 months.
And until COVID allows dine-in, do you believe the street will be closed?
Well, as you know, the state's dine-in is going to be gradual, right? 25%, 50%, et cetera. So that's why we continue to discuss this, but I would imagine the restaurants in downtown that are operating today, the 25% indoor occupancy, they're going to still rely on that outdoor space for their business at 50%.
Okay.
Because when we were at 50% for that short amount of time, the restaurants in Old Town at that time were not interested in going out to the industry, remember? Now that they're used to it and they've got how to operate it, maybe they would be more interested at 50% occupancy. But, you know, time will tell, and I guess we'll have to talk to those restaurants and see what their interest is, because none of them are on this call today.
Right. It's almost 9:30, and we do have another meeting in a few minutes just to discuss some marketing items. Is there anything else before we adjourn the district meeting? If not, then we will adjourn, and we'll come back in a few minutes to discuss marketing as the Old Town Association. And that's a separate login that I sent out to everybody. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.